deluxe patio cover. So earlier this summer, built this big structure. Already have a video that kind of walks through most of the initial build. This video, I will give a quick little time-lapse refresher, but this video is going to show some extensions, talk about gutters, talk about the siding, wraparound deck a little bit more, some other accessories, and some other considerations if you're looking to build some kind of gazebo patio cover like this. But here you have it. Patio cover, deluxe patio cover build. So here's a quick little time lapse just showing you what we started with and then just some assembly. And so for this project, that first part, really most of it I did do solo. My 10-year-old son did help me for a bit. But really with the use of ladders, you can pull off this whole project by yourself. And so some other ways of going about this, obviously you could do a scissor lift, you could do scaffolding, but just 2 ladders can do a lot. But pretty simple design, went with the metal corrugated roofing, super easy. Stay tuned later in the video, we get to hear a thunderstorm and see it working, but some different support, some brackets, did a little feature wall. But anyway, there's the original video that you can see if you want to see more. And for the extension. So after making this deck, again, that was not the original plan, but we needed the more space. It just was not long enough. And so unfortunately my 16-foot beams here, I cut them short because I thought we were gonna stop here and I had to go out longer. So it initially should have just done the full length. I would have been fine having that roof extend over. And so we did build a little extension here. And so right here, just gonna show some tricks if you end up deciding to extend. If you don't need this part, use those timestamps to skip on ahead. But I do recommend having it to overhang your initial post here, getting some more supports out here, just a little bit more of an overhang, so sideways rain and whatnot, you'll fully stay dry all up in the cover. So some extension ideas. Again, timestamps if needed, but here you have it, how we built this little extension. So here's a closer look at what it looked like. Again, I probably, even without that, little deck extension, I probably should have gone longer anyway, but you can kind of see where I was at. I only extended it, originally about, I don't know, like a foot or so past, 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet tops. So I figured the best way was just to add some more of these 2x4s, and I do have them anchored in to two of those cross, supports. And then also I had it right next to, another one of the beams. It's not really a beam, one of the 2x6s, and just anchored it in. Anyway, all these pieces here, it's got the same pitch, it's got the same slope, and they are solid. They are in, they're not moving at all. And so for me, again, this is not ideal at all, but this seemed like the best solution, given that obviously I was not going to start all over. And then here, these are just, 12-foot, 10-foot extensions here, just connecting it across the top. Some more of the awesome screws holding it all together. This is probably a little overkill. I didn't necessarily need this, it's not really fascia, however you pronounce that. But just a little bit more security, and a place just to latch on the gutter. Just wanted a little bit more tying it all together. Now, obviously, this whole thing right here, it doesn't work at all without more supports. And so with the original build, I used different types of brackets. I'm not a fan of how this looks right here with the different brackets, but at this point, I already had these, and it was just cost effective. So it doesn't, seamlessly match, but it worked. It worked for us. And so you can see here, these just kind of go up at the 45-degree. So I went with the 45-degree angle up into that recess, and then I just kind of measured it in there, just kind of checked back and forth and then cut it. I talk more about this kind of method supports in the original video, but this actually worked really well. It was super secure, super strong. It's not going anywhere. It's going to handle, I don't live in a major snow area here in Western Washington, but even when we get the occasional bigger snowstorm, it should be fine. Anyway, this is super secure. Probably in hindsight, this should have been another 4x4 post. As you can see there, I had more 2x4s, so that's what I went with. Probably that's an easy swap out later, but I'm actually really happy with the supports there. I think it's going to be stronger overall, and I like that it reached over. So in the first video, I talk a lot about different methods for cutting this galvanized corrugated roofing. You can check that out for more, but a metal blade works really well. Blade cut intended to cut metal. And then just like the original video, you know, adding in some more roofing. I tucked it under the existing roof from before. So just remove the screws, put it in there, and no leaks. I've had no leaks. You'll see that in a little bit. But anyway, added some more supports here, just these little things, added some little brackets. But the supports for the roof itself, it's super strong. You know, I'm not going to be walking on the roof, but for what it is, super strong. And just a couple other things just to clean it up, tie it together. Not super structural. It's just, oh, whoopsie, I cut it too short. Here you can see what it looked like before I put in the deck. So this was kind of an early stage. You can see how I have this little weird wraparound. I have a super slope patio, but my patio, the aggregate, we really don't love it. And it is what it is, right? It's slope, but there's just not as much room. And so as we were sitting there, like, we need more room. So we decided to just make a low profile wraparound deck, and actually really happy with this because the wood really tied in with the siding and the structure and the metal. It's a really, really cool look. So I am not a deck builder, so definitely go ahead and judge away. But just went with a simple low profile. I did flatten it out. I dug it out, got everything tamped. I used the tamper a lot. But getting everything level, I kind of went back and forth between making it level to the patio or just level to itself. So the whole deck is just level to itself. So you can see some edges, it's above the patio itself, just because there's such a huge slope across. You know, when they poured this patio, it just was way too big of a slope. But just adding some extra supports here and there. You know, didn't go crazy overbuilding it, but I did want it, you know, relatively strong. This was a really cool little contraption. There's bigger sizes of these, but these are really nice for blocks, right, to have the post sit on. It's enough because it's so wide, the wide base, it displaces the weight and kind of, like, you know, balances it out. It displaces the weight. But here you can see I have it in a couple different places to support the deck where I have a flat surface. Some places I put it just on some cement blocks that just work better. Obviously, you could do this a lot of different ways, but it's nice. You put it in place and you have your wood in place, your joist or whatever you want to call it, and then you can adjust it just to get it perfectly level. So these were actually really helpful. Yeah, this is messy, this is not clean, but it worked. It worked for what I was doing, just getting enough supports and then just to add in some cedar decking. And so this is really nice. It added a little bit more living space for us in this pretty, you know, slope patio, slope backyard. And here just went with cedar, went with some cedar decking. It's really nice how it ties in together. Yes, I probably should have staggered it and had more of a pattern, but you know, at this point I was like, you know, with where it's at, I'm okay with it. And so I kind of went for ease over the aesthetic of the look. So it's not really staggered here in this main section. Just went with simplicity sake, but I'm still happy with it. Couple other pieces, you know, obviously lots of measuring. This is where I got a little tricky, is there's that curve, right? It came in. So I started by thinking I was going to just put it in and then cut it with a jigsaw. And then I ended up describing, you know, cutting each one and kind of measuring, and a lot of guess and check, back and forth, back and forth. I did use, you know, the carpenter pencil trick in between the slats for expansion. And what I found here, as you're seeing, I'm getting these little slats, is just using the jigsaw and cutting an angle was actually more successful. But I did have to add in a couple more 2x4 supports to make sure it was fully secure. But a couple notches, the jigsaw definitely came in handy. Right here in this section, you can really see how it's curving around. I ended up just cutting those at a 45, well, not a 45-degree angle, whatever the angle was, and it worked a lot better. And so I'm really happy with how it looks. Did sand everything down, a little bit overkill, and then used this little clear coat from Home Depot. I used Flood for other painting applications, so I wanted to try a new one. This isn't a paint, it's just a natural color. I didn't stain it, I just wanted the natural color of the cedar. Just used a pad, did 2 coats of it, and was quite happy. Yeah, the caution tape is a bit overkill, but my kids have no impulse control and didn't want them to walk all over. And so it actually turned out really great, and I'm really happy with that natural color. The woodworker in me loves, you know, hey, there's no stain, there's no color, no paint, and it works really well as it, you know, I think it's a good balance between the aggregate, the stone, and eventually, obviously, when all this corrugated metal comes up. Okay. So siding. I didn't really plan on putting in siding on this side because I like to look at the green belt. It was a kind of a good look. But because we did, you can see in that bottom left corner, we did get some plumbing put in, drainage for a sink. My kids kept climbing over it and trying to sneak through. So we're like, we need to close that off. Again, here you can see the little, you know, cutting the metal. That's a great tool. I talk a lot more about that in the original video. But I did decide to extend this post a bit. It's not structural. It's just really supporting this for siding. But I did have the rain. When it rained before, it would come in on the side there. And so this actually eliminated any side rain for me. I still have the gap up top, so the smoker and the grill, all the smoke can get out. But just this was more of an aesthetic thing and to keep my kids from walking through there. And just it kind of tied in the whole space. Again, some of these brackets worked well to attach. Also kind of, again, it made some connections to the other pieces, tied everything well. So this is a great outdoor kitchen space. We'll talk more about this in a bit. And what makes the space great is got to add a little bit of decor. So we got some sports signs, even right over here. Use the laser cutter to make a little box for gloves, which is so nice and handy to have. Got some engraved cutting boards with different cuts of meats. And yeah, we're going to do some more signage here to decorate it out for this space. Lasers are super fun. I got a lot of videos on lasers and what you can do with it. So definitely check out the videos that I'll link down below on the lasers, what to do with it and what you can do with them. One in particular really showcases all the possibilities. So be sure to check that out. But fun to decorate the space, customize it out. And it's gutter time. So lots of great videos out there. This is kind of imposter time where, you know, I've never done this before. Learning it, oopsie, I did it and it was the wrong direction. I wasn't considering, I was in a rush to get started, but I had the wrong direction for the gravity fill. So got that messy goop everywhere. But really it's simple. You just buy the kits from your home center, you know, cut them to size and then just overlapping by a couple inches. And then I went with the method of adding in, you know, the sealant. I'll link everything down below. And then just drilling some holes and using a rivet gun. This is my first time using rivets. Super easy. Actually pretty cool. So there is like a, you know, 2 to 4 inch overlap there, a little bit of sealant, and then riveted together. Here's the end caps. End caps are really easy. There is one side that's for right, one side for left. You know, put some sealant, put some goop in there, get it in. Obviously, that clamp wasn't really working. And then really not a ton of room there, but go ahead, drill it, add some rivets. There are other ways to do this other than rivets. You could definitely get a crimping tool or other ones, but I did some research and the rivets seem kind of cool and like, you know what? And it's an excuse to get a new tool. Actually really affordable and fun. But anyway, we got it on the edge. It's all cleaned. Added a little bit more sealant just to make sure there's nothing coming out. This one actually I didn't have to cut for the downspout at all. There was a little attachment. Did the same thing with the little overlapped. Worked a lot better this time because I had it the right direction. But just some rivets and everything cleaned up. You really can't tell. Not noticeable. And then adding, oh my gosh, adding another end cap. These little clips right here, just attaching beforehand, before putting it up, and wouldn't you know it, it didn't film when I was attaching it. Just you know, impact driver, you just screw it straight into the fascia, those cross beams that I did earlier. You do want to make sure as you put it up, it slopes, right? So there's some different you know, suggestions for how much of a slope you should have. I did, you know, want to test to make sure my roofing didn't go too far over. It's probably sticking out a little bit further than I would like, but it works. Anyway, you do want to slope it gravity to make sure everything's going down to the downspout. And back at it using that metal cutting blade. This thing worked really well. Obviously, it had to be 2 passes. So cut about halfway through, flip it over, cut it halfway through. Other tools you could certainly use. All right, there's probably a right way and a wrong way to do this, but I'm just using gravity and I just wanted some slope. So I just kind of attached it here. I probably could have had some other configurations and more pieces to make it really kind of follow that support, the angle support, but I just went with it and it worked quite well. pretty much. I just didn't want to do like my 500th trip to Home Depot for more pieces, but just some little attachments, some brackets just to attach into that post to hold it together. And here you can see I got the gutters. It does slope, you know, from the right side to the left a little bit, just so gravity, it's going to keep pulling it. And then into the gutters, into a downspout. And then here, it's just kind of into like one of these little trays. I eventually probably will pipe it out, do a little bit more, but at least it's not going to make, you know, our main area all soggy. But there you can kind of see the gutters. And do they work? You bet they do. So we actually had quite a bit of summer rain. You can hear it there. It worked great, and so everything is holding up. It's actually really cool to hear the rain on the roof. No leaks. The roof is working great. The gutters are working well too. And for now, this is about it. And, you know, a couple other things that we added in, a couple shelves here and there. But you kind of get a feel for the space. We have since added a TV, so, you know, while we're cooking and whatnot, we can still watch some football, go Hawks. This is a great space here. All kinds of fun things. I really am glad we did this extension. Obviously, the gutters are a must-have here in the Pacific Northwest with our rain, but this is just an amazing space that we really have been enjoying as a family. One thing I do recommend is these curtains here. These are great, obviously, for shade, but when it's raining and that sideways rain, this works really well. These are just waterproof curtains. So link to all the accessories and things that I've used down below if you're so interested. But it's a great space. Great little comfy chairs. Really happy with how it all turned out with these additions here in part 2. And there you have it, some additions to this patio cover to this space. If this video provided value for you, please consider subscribing to see more videos like this, loads of other videos. Obviously, the original build, definitely want to check that out if you haven't. This island right here, how I made this cool intricate butcher block top. I've been using this a ton, actually like almost like 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. A ton, little island cart here. Lots of other videos. Obviously, if you're into laser stuff, you can check that out with the different things, other traditional woodworking. And yeah, one more thing. 6A Eats, it's just a fun little thing here. Obviously, this space is great for smoking meat, grilling, all kinds of food prep. We love cooking, all kinds of different things. And so decided to use this space for a second channel. So it's just kind of fun. 6A Eats, lots of different foods, obviously meats, but other sides as well, lots of other things. So you can definitely check that out. There's another video on there that's kind of a tour of the space if you want a little bit more of a look at all the space, but a couple other videos on some recipes using the space, and we're just gonna have some fun here. So feel free to check that out as well. If you're curious about any of the accessories that we use, the brackets, the lights, the curtains, links down below if so interested. But thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.